There are a lot of wicked and sad deeds in Lord of the Rings, but one stands out to me more so than all the others, and it involves the character of Túrin Turambar. Túrin is actually a character that's mentioned in the Lord of the Rings after the Council of Elrond, where at the end, Frodo Baggins is called an elf friend by Elrond, and he's compared to other elf friends, them being Hador, Húrin, Túrin, and of course, Beren. And Túrin is related to all these individuals. He's actually a kinsman of Beren through his mother. But after the fall of Nargothrond and the Battle of Tumhalad, everything has kind of just turned into a giant mess. Glaurung has frozen Túrin in place and has now released him from the spell and convinced him hey, your mother and your sister are living in thraldom while you live as a prince. And not only that, that they're in danger, and thus tricking Túrin to not go after the elf princess Vindurius, which is stated in the book as the only means for Túrin to be saved from his doom. And he goes to Dorlomin, the land he hasn't been to in over 20 years, his homeland, only to find the house that he grew up in that Morduin and his sister Nienor lived in empty. And not only empty, ransacked and stripped of all of its goods. And though he looks like a beggar, he is the lord technically of Dorlomin. And he goes and he searches for these people, the people of Hador, only to find them as thralls, their tongue almost being treated like the serf tongue rather than one of revidence or anything like that. And what ends up happening is that he runs into someone from his childhood. Sador Labadel, Sador the One Foot, who, was someone who had hurt his leg with an axe in his youth and couldn't go to war with anyone, and thus stayed behind when everyone went to the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. And he recognizes Túrin once Túrin calls him Labadel because he was the only one who called him that. And it is there that he tells him, he's like, I don't know where your mother is. Maybe ask Eirin, one of the kinswomen of Húrin, your father, who actually had helped Túrin escape when he was 9 years old. But she was forced to marry an Easterling who goes by the name of Brada, because the Easterlings have taken over Dorlomin. They are ruled by a chieftain who goes by the name of Lorgan, but Brada is one of the lords who exists there, and he has forced Eirin to be his wife. And it's been like that for 2 decades at this point. When he shows up at Brada's house, he tells him, your courtesy of your hall is lessened compared to the people of Hador and, the lords of Dorlomin. And this kind of pisses Brada and the other Easterlings off who are drunk at this point. But he starts asking Eirin questions about Morwen. Where is she? What happened? And at first she doesn't answer, only for Brada to get angry and be like, hey, don't talk about that thrall woman or, that witch or anything like that. Only to piss Túrin off, who leaps at him and grabs him by his hair and holds the blade up to his neck and demands that Eirin answer to none other than the Lord of Dorlomin, Túrin. And she tells him that Morduin has left with his sister and has gone because, the Mormogil, the Black Sword, him, has made it safer for them to travel to Doriath. And even in his blind rage, he still takes out Brada. And he pretty much seals the fate for all the people of Hador there. And it's Eirin who points it out. She's like, hey, you still have the mentality of a child, letting your anger drive you. You've pretty much endangered all of us. You need to leave. If you have any goodwill or faith in you, you will leave and go to Morduin, and so I can at least forgive you for this action. And as he's leaving with the other thralls who take him to a safe place where they give him food and what have you because they're rebels, they see in the distance a red flame. And it's Brada's house being set on fire because Eirin has immolated herself. She has decided to kind of prevent this anger from spreading to the Easterlings by just taking everything out so there's no remnants of it left. Only for the other rebels of Hador to tell Túrin the same thing. You've endangered all of us. You need to leave. Just go, dude. You've caused so many problems at this point by returning. And if you do return with some help so you could free us at least. And he never does return to Dorlomin. And this in itself is one of the saddest deeds that Túrin ever performed. He didn't just endanger himself. He didn't take someone else out. His actions and his temperament drove to pretty much endanger all the people that he should have been caring for, that would have served him as Lord of Dorlomin. And it just drives me crazy because there's so many ways this could have been prevented. But yet, is he a master of his own doom, or is doom his master?